This video is a bit different. This will be a book review with art inspiration. A while back, I read this book by author Mary Roach called Stiff: The Curious Lives of Human Cadavers. If you like books about the weird and gruesome, you will dig this book. I won't spoil too much. All I'm going to do is go over the table of contents, which, aside from the book summary, is the first thing you look at when you do decide to read a book. So I feel like there's not as much spoiler material here. So to give a brief summary of the book, I'm going to read the table of contents. That way you can have a little bit of a preview of what you might be getting into whenever you pick up this book. The first chapter. A head is a terrible thing to waste. Practicing surgery on the dead. I do really enjoy this chapter. Instantly hooked me into this book, so it was a wonderful way to get started. Chapter 2. Crimes of anatomy, body snatching, and other sordid tales from the dawn of human dissection. If you've watched any of Ask a Mortician videos, you can probably already glean what this one's going to be about. Still very good to read. Chapter 3. Life After Death. On Human Decay and What Can Be Done About It. Chapter 4. Dead Man Driving. Human Crash Test Dummies and the Ghastly Necessary Science of Impact Tolerance. I think out of all the chapters, this one's my favorite. Just because of how interesting it is. And I mean, it's very practical. How better to know what would happen to the human body than to test out traffic accidents with a human body. Anyways. Chapter 5. Beyond the Black Box. When the bodies of the passengers must tell the story of a crash. Chapter 6. The Cadaver Who Joined the Army. The Sticky Ethics of Bullets and Bombs. Chapter 7. Holy Cadaver. The Crucifixion Experiments. Chapter 8. How to Know If You're Dead. Beating Heart Cadavers, Live Burial, and Scientific Search for the Soul. Very interesting chapter. Most of it, again, if you've kind of delved into the history of people being buried alive, you probably already know some of this, but still a very good read to kind of brush you up on it and to add some extra little tidbits of information. Chapter 9. Just a Head. Decapitation, Reanimation, and the Human Head Transplant. Chapter 10. Eat Me. Medicinal Cannibalism and the Cause of the Human Dumplings. My second favorite chapter. Chapter 11. Out of the Fire into the Compost Bin, and Other New Ways to End Up. Chapter 12. Remains of the Author. Will she or won't she? Again, as you're reading this, pay attention to all the footnotes. They're little gems, so I encourage you to read that. Don't skip the intro. It is very important. With the acknowledgments and the biography, if you want tidbits of little more information, you can read those. Overall, the contents are, if that doesn't get you, I don't know what will. So that gives you the basic idea of what this book is about. I won't be doing an in-depth review because the author does a great job at composing this book with a ton of sources and research, and I feel like it's something that you'd want to experience on your own. I highly encourage you to get this book, especially if you are a big fan of morbid facts and history. Kind of like the Ask a Mortician on YouTube. She's fantastic. Mary Roach's style of writing is very witty, and you're just having a casual conversation with a slew of amazing information. She is very informed, And what I like about the way she conducted herself is she went off and did her own hands-on research. She went to ask doctors, morticians, and she also went to the crash test dummy sites. Whenever you get to that part in the book, it's really good. Now, there was a lot of different types of imagery that I could have done for this book, but I settled on a combination of two things that Mary Roach mentioned. The first is from a summarized passage. Quote, "To avoid the problematic odors, anatomists came up with some creative solutions to the flesh disposal problem. Others were said to keep vultures on hand for the task. The sparrows of the day were well up to the task." After reading that, I knew instantly I wanted to do a painting with sparrows eating flesh. But what kind of scenario can I create that would be fitting? Well, once I got through about 2/3 of the book, Mary Roach drops this bizarre bit of information about cannibalism. In the chapter Eat Me, Miss Roach mentions C.J.S. Thompson's book, The Mystery and the Arts of the Apothecary, which apparently has a recipe for, quote, "spirit of the brain of man," end quote. The recipe has a combination of brains, black cherries, lavender, and lilies. There I have my scene. There I have my inspiration for a classic Renaissance style still life painting. I also wanted to replace the part in the recipe with the brain, a bit of my own home cooking. I wanted to replace it with a heart. Mostly because a heart was more aesthetically appealing to me. So I constructed this painting with the heart and the sparrows in the center. And in the background, you can see a bit of the aorta with veins and arteries just kind of splaying all throughout. I enjoyed the process of creating all the little details of this more realistic painting. It was a challenge, but a much needed challenge. And as I worked, I kept thinking about cute little sparrows picking away at a fleshy dead body. I know it's weird, but you should look up the vampire finch. Kind of a gnarly, adorable little bird. Nature, and included in that are humans, can be weird, impressive, and wildly fascinating. So, overall, this book, fantastic read. For me personally, it's just one of those books where it has a nice balance of humor with all of the, morbid information that you're given. She doesn't get too dry with all of the technical stuff, but she doesn't leave it out. She still allows you to have some of the more advanced information, but she presents it in a very entertaining way. To finish this review off, Mary Roach's book, Stiff: The Curious Lives of Human Cadavers, is a weird, impressive, and wildly fascinating journey into what happens to human cadavers throughout history and in modern times. So if you're a bit weird, you like a little bit of the odd in your life, I recommend this book. So I want to thank you for listening to this book review / art inspiration piece. Let me know what you think. This is the first time I've actually considered doing a book review that is coupled with a painting or an illustration of any kind based on the inspiration I get from the book. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are other people who have thought of this and done more creative things, but I don't know, I might consider doing another one. I mean, I did recently read Radium Girls, so maybe that could be my next one. Let me know what you think.